promised, this is the Quick and Easy Customs Dragon Ball Z edition. Mostly focusing on the Dragon Stars line here with Vegeta and with Hit, with a few other things thrown in, but today we're going to focus on allowing the Marvel Legends little booster effects to fit into the hand for blast effects for the Dragon Stars, how to make light up effect parts for your blast effects, your key attacks, and then how to give Hit some pockets so that he can have a cool guy standing pose. But anyway, let's go ahead and get started with the blast hand thingies. For this, the materials you're going to need are obviously going to be a figure, some of the Marvel Legends blast effect parts. You can also probably get away with some of the SH figure art ones if you've got some of those laying around. We'll get into some of that later. And then of course another set of drill bits. What you want to do is find a drill bit that matches the size of the peg right here. Let me go ahead and zoom in so you can see that a little better. And just that little knob right there. So you'll find one that matches this. And then what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to take Vegeta here and find his hand, and as you can see I've already done this on mine. What we're going to do is we're just going to bore a nice little hole in there. So if I'm correct, I used this bit. Just bore out your little hole. You do want to keep note of how deep the little peg is here. That's going to be important. And if you want, the Marvel Legends ones pop off like this. So this is something that's going to come into play in a minute. So if you don't want the kind of initial effect, you can do that, and that is the look you get. Pretty cool looking. Nice little effect part, especially since the Dragon Stars don't come with any. And since, like I said, kind of the SH figure art ones typically are done in kind of an orange. If you wanted to go that color and not have blue, you can do that as well. You can also paint these. You have to be kind of careful with that though. And here he is with the little boosty thing there. Now something that is kind of cool, if you don't want to use little boosty part here, what we can do is we're going to go ahead and focus back there. What you can do, which is really cool, I really like this, you can go ahead and use this if you're building up your display, or if you are animating or just trying to take pictures. You can use this for kind of a hit effect. So for instance, if someone was punching Vegeta there, you would put a little bit of sticky tack on one side, pop it there, and most of the Dragon Stars and figure arts, Dragon Ball Z hands and feet will fit in that little knob. So you can actually have it kind of look like he's getting punched a little bit more forcefully, and I'll take a picture of that and put that on the end so that you can see that as well. But yeah, so that's how you use those Marvel Legends effect parts. You can do the same with figure arts, but I'd be a little bit more cautious, and they do typically have blast effect parts, so not to worry there. Let's go ahead and get into the continuation of the blast effects and show you how to light some of them up. Pertaining to the Figure-Eyes model kits, just because their blast effect parts are in pieces, so this is easier to do. Theoretically, if you wanted, there's kind of a way to get around to this, to get some cool lighting effects with some of the figure arts blast effects, but we'll look into that maybe another time, because I want to test it before I recommend it to anyone. Anyway, what you do is you get one of your Figure-Eyes blast effect parts. Today we're using the Super Saiyan 3 Goku's Kamehameha Wave long shooting blast effect part. As you can see, it's compartmentalized, so there are holes in it, which are really useful for this. You can find these little lights, it's dollar stores, Dollar Trees, Five Below is actually where I found these. There's a 3-pack for $1. You've got a green light, a blue light, and the white one, which I've got taken apart. You can take it apart to get the 3-round batteries, and then just the actual LED. Now, that being said, you can also just find these individual components online as well. But beware the size of the LED. Most of them are going to be very big, so that you're not going to run into an issue. But find the dimensions first to make sure they'll fit. And then what you do is you just run your fingernail, if you've got long enough fingernails, or just a little bit, and or not, you can always try to be very, very careful with an X-Acto knife just to pry it open a little bit to where you can pop it open. But since they're model kits, they are designed to be put together and taken apart. Take the batteries, put a little bit of tape around them to make sure they stick together. You have one end touch one side, one end touch the other, and you gotta be a little careful with, and as you can see, that lights up. Then what we can do is pop this bad boy. You have to be real careful with this, it's a little finicky. This is the hard part here. If I can get this to work. Okay, so it is on. Just a reconnection. What we're gonna do is pop this bad boy in here, if I can. Oh, well. Yeah, so this part's a little finicky, and this is usually done better off camera, but I did want to show you the process. But basically, you get it stashed into there, those parts lining up. You have to be very careful on how you do it, because these do have to mesh back together. And I did not put them in there properly, so let me mess with. Give me a second, let me take this off screen real quick. Alright, successfully got it in there, but the moment I clamped them back down, the LED and the battery became disconnected, but you can see it in there. Once again, I've done this several times, and this is something I do need to kind of refine on how to actually tape that together and get it to work. But yeah, that is something that this is big enough. You can also, I believe, do the same with a lot of the other effects. I know, like Super Saiyan 4 Vegeta's is this really cool looking green, kind of hollow looking thing, so you can pop it in there as well. But yeah, that'll be really cool to put on a stand and have any of your DBZ figures use, especially because it'll have a light, so if you want to take a picture or anything with that, that's going to be pretty cool looking. Now, that brings us to the stand and kind of what you can do. These little doohickeys come with a little rubber band, but you can always use any kind of adhesive. And when you pop the effect on the stand, because all the Figure Eyes and Figure Arts Big Blast effects will have a stand hole, what you can do is kind of find out where you want it angled, whether you want it at the big ball or at the hand. And then you can just go ahead and affix this. Usually if you're going to be at an angle like this, you're going to want realistically to have some kind of other adhesive, because the rubber band just doesn't work very well. And then you can have it like that, and it's going to really accentuate this part by the hand, which is going to act like it's emitting light. And you're also going to get some of the blue, as you can see on my hand there, on the face of the figure, which is pretty cool. So just a couple of neat tricks. Now lastly, let's go ahead and jump on to Hit. Hit here is a special figure, mainly just because he has this really long skirting, which is one solid piece pretty much all the way around, with the exception of this break in the front here, which ends up limiting a lot of articulation for the legs, and it stops you from getting cool poses. So what I did, and to be fair, this wasn't originally my idea, but I did kind of refine it. A lot of people have done the cuts here on the side. I went ahead and added one in the back, which I'm sure other people have done. But I've seen people also just cut slits at the top here to put his hands in there like pockets, because, you know, it makes him look cooler and standoffish. So what I ended up doing at someone's recommendation, cutting these, if you put the hand on, shoots it out about like that, and that just looks weird. So what you do is you just take the hand off if you want him in this pose, put the ball right in between those two parts, and then you just let it sit back down, and he has the cool standoff pose without his front skirts just flaring out super far. Now, there are a couple different ways of cutting these. You want to be very careful when you do it, obviously, because you don't want to cut yourself or do anything like that. Lord knows I've been cut enough times by X-Acto knives to have learned my lesson. What you can do, and as you can see this side, I did not do the straightest of lines. You can take sprue clippers and go up there is a little seam here. You can kind of see it come down from his torso, and it kind of gives you a straight line to go at. Or if you're very careful, you can use an X-Acto knife. This is soft plastic, so it does go through it pretty easily. The back one I feel like I actually did pretty straight, which is pretty cool. And then you've got this here. Same deal, just follow that, and you can tell I also did the screw clippers here because it's a little jagged. But overall, very nice figure. I do want to go back and do some paint work on him and other things, but yeah, the Dragon Stars line's been really solid. So let's go ahead and wrap this up, recap, and let you guys get on with the rest just of the day. Recap, and something I did neglect to mention is you can do that little peg thing like I've done with Vegeta here on the flat blast hands. Like we've got Beerus here with one peg and one knot. So that is something that you can do as well. Once again, be very careful when you do that. You want just enough to where you can get a grip on there. You don't want to drill all the way through the hand. That's going to be kind of a problem. But yeah, so very cool things to do with these Dragon Stars figures. Looking pretty cool, honestly. That's probably how I'm gonna have him post for at least a while. Pretty into that. And then the cool LED tricks that you can mess with on some of those other blast effect parts. Once again, I'm gonna work on that and probably bring it back into the videos once I've kind of refined it and got it a little bit more consistent. But just something to bring to your guys' attention. Maybe you guys have some cool thoughts that you can bring to the table on how I can work with that. So let me know in the comments below if you have any ideas, thoughts, concerns, questions that you want to pop out. I'm definitely more than happy to oblige. Be sure to like this video if you did enjoy it, and of course subscribe for more content like this. I'm going to be going into some more intensive customs into the future and kind of breaking down the process of how I went through those, and maybe making some of them in real time and just time lapse it. So yeah, we'll kind of see how that goes. But yeah, thanks for watching, guys. Be sure to check me out on other platforms such as Facebook and Instagram for photos of cool guys like these, and I'll see you guys in the next video.